Hello, everyone. This is Chala, CEO and founder of the Repositioning Expert, coming to you live with another Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. Taking a sip. I left the top open because it's always so hot because I prepare it just for this session. I mean, I have my morning one and then this is the other one. So welcome. I want to talk to you about some niching disaster rescues. So disasters that have turned into success stories. And I'm going to share some that are famous ones. And I'm going to share some of the not so famous ones that I have run across in my career as a coach. And then I'm going to tell you what not to do. And then I'll give you some information about some of the events that I'm going to be participating in, holding, organizing, so you can see if you can join us. Okay, so when 86% of buyers can't tell the difference between two suppliers, you know that it is a crowded market out there. And a niche is something that you need to own, meaning who is your target market and what problem you're going to solve for them. What is the service or product that you're going to be a specialist in, be known for? What problem are you going to solve? That forms your niche. These companies that I'm going to talk to you about have chosen the wrong niche because they've gone on guesses, gut, feel, lack of research, and all of those things that I would have been fired the day that I started working at some of the large companies that I worked for, Pepsi, Pizza, Frito-Lay. I always say, like, if these brands were to behave like a small business and never do the research when they're launching new products, one, they would have way more failures, and they already have failures, and they do the strategic work and vetting with consumers and their target. But if I were to behave like, small businesses do, which is throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks, guessing at who their niche should be, who needs the product the most. They start with maybe thinking they needed it. And I'll tell you some stories about that. And then, it turns into something else. Now, these are like the anomalies that have turned into success stories, because by and large, you never hear from them again. In some of the cases where I actually met the people who in some cases did hire me after they launched a product or service, and we could pivot. But in some cases we couldn't because there was just too much sunk cost. I'm going to tell you all about that. Okay. So Slack, which is a business communication tool, which is an internal sort of like a DMing tool. It started off as a gaming company, and then because it saw more potential in the internal communication tool they used for their development team, that's what they ended up keeping and capitalizing on. So Shopify, another story, that's an online store building platform. If you have any kind of e-commerce at all, you would have heard of the name Shopify. And believe it or not, they started as a snowboard equipment online selling store, like a Facebook marketplace for snowboard equipment. And what they realized was that not a lot of people were buying the snowboards, but a lot of people were interested in the e-commerce platform. It was way more valuable than the product. So they went all in on that. Next example is PayPal. Who doesn't know PayPal? It's an online payment platform. And believe it or not, and I'm going to say that a lot because it started the origin stories are all so weird. It was a mobile encryption company for something called a Palm Pilot, if you ever remember those. So this is like the early days of the mobile game. And it then became an online payment system and merged with Elon Musk's online bank, which was called X.com. And there was just no traction for the encryption company. And everybody was way more interested in the platform. So in most of these cases, you'll notice that people aren't interested in the actual product. They're more interested in the delivery of technology of the product. And unfortunately, a lot of these are tech-based. Groupon, again, Groupon is an online coupon platform. There's a famous story of my hairdresser who's like 25 going to Las Vegas and not spending a dime because she bought everything on Groupon. So she bought her hotel from Groupon. She bought all her activities, her concerts, her meals from Groupon because it's such a deep discount for people who are trying to get more customers. It's very, very well known and used. So it started, believe it or not, and I'm going to try, we usually have a drinking game for when you have panels at events and everybody says, I concur. And I hate that so much that I want to have a drinking game where, you have a shot every time somebody says I concur. So anyway, don't do that. But anyway, and I'm sorry, I'm going to try not to say, believe it or not anymore. But in Groupon, back to Groupon, they were a crowdfunding for social cause company. So just like how you raise money online through, telling a good story online or making a nice video, having a nice ad, or just simply just going on social media and telling people about the cause and then going to a GoFundMe page. This was kind of like the crowdfunding, the GoFundMe fundraiser for social causes. And then they found that the group discount feature of that was selling more than the product. So they went all in. They went and got, bigger group discounts. They went and did more mass purchasing and so went deeper, and it became like a coupon discount platform. Number 5 is something called, and I'd never heard of this, but it's called Optimizely. And apparently it's a website optimization platform. It's the first of its kind, best of its kind. And it was a I caught myself. It was a math teaching app. It created math teaching apps to children. And because it was so limited in scope, so again, like some niches can be very, very limited and too small, too niche, they pivoted to A/B testing of websites. So the UX, the user interface experience became what they're known for, and they went all in on that. So they started using this for website optimization to see, are people navigating it properly? Is it efficient? Are there enough people staying, converting? Are there enough people landing? And so on. Number 6 is DocuSign. This you've certainly heard of if you've done any work with your financial advisor or a realtor. It used to be, now this is the case of the same product, but being pivoting their focus in terms of niche target group. So they used to be B2C. They were mostly consumer focused, but then they decided that no, not only are we going to go B2B, but we're going to go deep into an industry, which is the biggest thing that I recommend is start with an industry. So they researched and they found that realtors and wealth advisors like financial industries have a huge need for this, but it needs to be protected. It needs to have security, it has to have encryption, it has to have compliance. So that's what they built into it, and they leaned deep into that niche. So that's what I want for most of my clients, is to find them from a generic into a very specific industry target so that we can build up the message, the marketing, the positioning, and if possible, the product or the service, which is what these guys did. And so it's huge in that world. And lastly, HubSpot, as an example, which is a full CRM customer record management platform. And what ended up happening is they used to be a website grader tool for marketers, for marketing companies. And then it pivoted into, they saw that there was this huge need for inbound marketing solutions, content, funnels. And so that's what they became and now they have a huge business in a whole CRM platform for marketers and for small companies. Now, here are these were the big company examples of the very famous big names in business that have pivoted from a niching disaster, and they've rescued into a very profitable, success story. And here are some of the ones that I've met through my 12-year career as a coach First one was a grief coach that I met while networking, and she had been trying to sell her coaching services because, and the way that she came by this career was her mother was very ill and died untimely, and she suffered so much from her death that she decided to become a grief coach so she could prevent that from happening to everyone else. And what she found after years and years of trying to sell her services, like $300-400 an hour, which is what coaches charge, and nobody buying it, because everybody was buying it from either they had support at their church or there were hospice services that were providing this for free, and nobody was, getting her to help them. So she pivoted into leadership development, and she found a much better place for her skills, her background, her skill set, her education, because nobody was willing to pay for the grief coaching. Another one was, I actually did have a client. She was lovely. She had spent all her life savings into developing and working with a software developer, an app developer, into developing a picture-based furniture warehousing inventory software. It was very specific. She said that she found that there was a need for it, but before doing enough research, she went and she spent the money to do the development. At the time, she was one of my earlier clients. It was very expensive to do software development, and she sunk all her costs, and she was a single mom, all her savings. And when we did the research, no large company that would be her target and could pay her was willing to do the pilot. And by that time, it was really too late to pivot it into anything else because it was so specific. So again, the missing piece there was that, like, none of these companies did the right research and vetted the product, concept, idea, whatever it is. They just saw a need based on their own thoughts and guesses and just went for it. And so many startups fail because of that. And so many companies stall in their growth because they're too generic, they have a niche down, or they've got the wrong target. Sorry. Okay. One last example is, I'm going to give you, this was a client, and she targeted immigrant CEOs, and she wanted to become a career coach for them to help them land similar jobs to the kind of level that they left, because statistically most of them are driving Ubers, they're laying carpet, they're not surgeons or lawyers like they used to be back in the country that they came from. And she grew up in that kind of family and didn't want to see that be perpetuated, and yet she could not get any immigrants to hire her for the amount that she wanted, because she found out through trial and error. And once she hired me, I had her do interviews and go and speak to the people that would potentially hire her. They said, we're new in a country, we don't know what's going to happen. And normally they were from countries and cultures that did not pay for coaching and consulting. So it really didn't work out for her. So what we did is very quickly, we pivoted her into, and her entire background was HR. So we pivoted her into becoming a fractional HR. And then she started picking up a lot more work. So the cautionary tale, the lessons is, do the strategy, purchase intent work before a launch. And, I've developed a 2 to 4 week process of how I help companies that are small companies like us do that without losing steam, without losing a lot of money. It's mostly trying to speak to very key strategic players in the market and letting the market tell us whether there's a need for what this is, and for that price, and for that person, for whoever that company is. Pick a gap in the market, and there's a very strategic way to do that. And that's the 2 to 4 week process that I'm talking about. And of course, monitor success. I mean, all these companies were keeping a keen eye on, is the snowboard selling more than the platform, right? Obviously. And the next step is quickly pivot and lean in on what does seem to be working, and add additional features and value around what is working. So the example is the DocuSign, where they found that the compliance, security, and the encryption were what was needed for that product to really fly in very specific, the legal industry and the financial industry. So why not? So I just want to give you hope that if you're facing a plateau in your business, it's one of the first things we look at is there a niching disaster happening here? Or is there a niching opportunity being lost or missed? And most of the time, nobody is super niching, which is picking a very specific industry and a very specific problem to hang your hat on and own as an expert. Okay. Now I want to tell you about 3 events that I'm doing. Tomorrow, I'm speaking at an organization called Spiral 5. They are a group of PR marketers, public relations marketers. And I'll be speaking to them about pitches that sell to corporations, which is usually my topic. And it's at 3 p.m. tomorrow. So if you're interested in any of this, please, reach me through the comments. Next week on the 20th, I'm going to Dallas. And I'm speaking at a business expo in Mesquite, which is apparently a little bit outside of Dallas. And then at the same time in downtown Dallas, the same day on the 20th, with $1 million plus women CEOs, I'll be conducting an executive roundtable around the very painful and costly topic of how to get bigger corporate contracts and clients. So this is going to be a confidential peer sharing. It's by invitation only. And if you're interested and if you know anyone in their area or you yourself are in the Dallas area, please let me know and I'll be happy to meet you next week. All right, everyone. So that is all from me today. I will see you, maybe not next week because I'll be in Dallas, but I'll see you the week after and tell you everything that happened. All the best.